last one for step 1. Normally when I do this, I'm usually watching some form of Netflix in the background, or I might have YouTube on and I might be watching like Sewing Live. Today I decided not to do that so I wouldn't feel quite so pressured, and also so I could hear myself think, because I can't really do that usually with the machines going. Anyway, so I usually just kind of glance up every now and then and read the subtitles. These little snips here have been a godsend. I swear, like, they are the best little things. I don't know why I didn't buy them sooner. And if you're wondering what this is, hubby and I bought that at IKEA like years and years ago, just because it helps seeing the bed of the sewing machine whenever I'm doing this, especially either early morning or like late at night. Which during the pandemic, like the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing a lot of sewing like until 11 o'clock at night, waking up at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I haven't been quite that busy lately, though a lot of that was probably also grief because I just lost my grandfather and he was my rock and I didn't really know what to do, and sewing was better than crying, I guess. So yeah. Alrighty, so I'm just trimming all these loose strings because they will drive my husband crazy if he sees them. Alright, so I've seen a lot of different ways that people turn these right side out. Some people pay money for like a fancy turner. Some people will do it like the way my grandmother taught me how to do it, with like a safety pin, and then you kind of just feed it through the tube. I'm going to do it a way that I just figured out yesterday. So I have one of these types of rollers, and if you can't quite tell what it is a magnifying roller that I jokingly bought for my husband several years ago, because whenever you place it over paper, the center part here actually makes it magnified a little bit, so it's easier than maybe putting your glasses on if you just need it for like a moment. But it's got like this rounded curve because of the magnifying bit. And what I like to do is I just kind of turn the lip of my little scrunchie over a little bit, and I place that roller underneath, and then you just kind of brace it on a table, or in my case my chest, and you just kind of pull it through, and voila, like so. And so can you see all of those beautiful golden little snowflakes on there? I don't even think you can quite tell about the little Japanese wave print underneath it, but it's there, I promise, and it's really cute. And I think these are going to be adorable little scrunchies. So I'm going to turn that one, and I'll turn the other 3 that I sewed all at once. And like I said, I'm going to save one that I did not actually sew the ends up for my husband for practice. One other thing that I should probably mention, I've seen a lot of tutorials where they'll tell you to like fold down the edge of one scrunchie and sew it, and then you sew your tube, which I have done, and then you'll, after you install your elastic, you put the raw edge side underneath the finished edge side and just go over it with your machine. I hate the way that that looks. So I found out this is a little more time consuming, but I like the way that this one looks better. So what I do is I leave like a little bit of the fabric unsewn at the top and a little bit of the fabric unsewn at the bottom. And then once I'm ready to actually sew them, I will literally match up those ends together, and I will very carefully sew it underneath my sewing machine so that it's still completing like 95% of the tube, and then I finished a little bit of the open ends here by hand. It's a little bit of a pain, but because it looks so much nicer in the end, that's the way that I think I'm going to just do it from now on. Because I've tried doing it by machine, I've tried staying close to the edge as possible, and it just makes it less fluffy in that area, and I think it looks horrible. Whereas when I do it by hand, my father-in-law can't even tell that I've done it. So that's just the way that I prefer to do it, I guess. But whatever way you prefer to sew it is completely up to you. I have learned from doing things that my grandmother told me, oh no, you can never do that when you're sewing things, that sometimes doing things your own way is actually better for the aesthetic that you're going for. And if it makes you happier, then by all means do it, because you're the one who's living with your name being attached to it. No one else. End rant. Alright, so here is my cat pattern. So all sorts of fun little cat shapes and colors and patterns on here. My husband actually picked out this material. He's like, oh my gosh, you have to get that. He is such an enabler when I go to Joann's, but I love it. So the next step in doing these is to get some elastic, and you're going to want to feed that elastic through all here, and then you're going to need to sew that elastic into a circle. And it's going to be really hard for me to show that on camera, just because I'm actually using my phone on like one of those little bendy arm things. And if I were to try to bend it now, you're not going to be able to see me later if I come back to my sewing machine. And I kind of like the angle that we're going for here, because not only can you see my brother, you can actually see my other brother from another mother. No, that's my embroidery machine. I bought her almost a year ago to the day, actually, I think, because it was right around Thanksgiving that I talked my husband to, oh, let's go visit the local sewing shop. And I was just looking for potential upgrades to my sewing machine, and wouldn't you know, I walked out with an embroidery machine. But I love her. She's probably one of my favorite buys ever. Totally worth it. So I will be back.